there's a lot of career advice online
Yeah.
regarding the hiring process, particularly with the tech giants, the FANG or MAMA companies. Um, do you have guidance for listeners on what some of the most common misunderstandings are in this kind of career advice?
Yeah. So when it comes to resumes, a big misunderstanding is that more is better, when you don't realize that these recruiters and these hiring managers are so inundated with resumes. Actually having a simple plain text resume is better than these colorful, well designed resumes that are 2, 3, 4 pages that list out all kinds of crap. So that's the first big thing that people don't realize. The second one is around certifications. They're really not a big deal at the top tiers and the
That's right.
top tech companies because honestly, these certifications aren't that challenging to get
Right.
because the companies that are running the certification, let's say some Snowflake certification or AWS certification, it's sort of like their marketing and branding thing. So they
Right.
kind of want more people to be AWS certified. So they don't
Right.
have an incentive to make the test hard. So conversely, at these top tech companies, they don't even care about them because they're not really that real or that important. So I've seen a lot of people, in particular, the Google data analyst certificate that they have out there, think that, oh, because it has Google on their name, they're going to get shortlisted at Google or a Google
Right.
comparable company.
Right.
It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Agree 100%, Nick.
The third big misconception people have is that interviewing is the same as being a great data scientist. And actually, they're two different skills.
Mm.
And people get this kind of complex that, hey, you know what? I have 8 years experience. I have 10 years experience. I have a PhD. I don't work with SQL. I do pandas all day. Do I really need to prepare for the SQL interview? And here's the sad truth, which is, hey, these companies run really rigid processes that have thousands of people go through them. So they
Mm.
can't really tailor it that much and say, oh, you know what? You use pandas. We'll ignore SQL, or, oh, you have 8 years experience. You're above this question. They don't really
Right.
do that.
Right.
So sometimes that means, a new grad might have more experience with the question around statistics 101 because they took that class recently and you might be a little hazy. Some people have this kind of complex like, oh, if I have to study for the interview, it's not a job I want. Or, hey,
Right.
if I have to go out of my way to do SQL or review some probability and statistics that I don't necessarily do in my everyday day to day,
Yeah.
that I should still be entitled to these high paying FANG jobs. And the truth is, if you don't want them, that's fine. But if you do want them, you got to play the game. And that's what the game is. It's working through the questions that they ask and
Yep.
not trying to make up your own reasoning for why you're above that.
Perfectly said. Another example of this happens in investment banking. So, if you want to work at one of the top Wall Street firms as an investment banker, those investment bankers in their downtime, so sometimes they might be at work for hours with nothing to do in the middle of the morning or the middle of the afternoon. And then they can have something can drop on their desk at 6 p.m. They have to be there till 6 a.m. working on some pitch deck for some proposed merger or acquisition or something. But so in that downtime, while they're sitting around, something that they do is they go through, there's kind of similar to the Ace the Data Science interview book that you've written, Nick. There's Wall Street guides like that for Wall Street
Yeah.
jobs. And so they'll just ask each other, they'll just work through those books to keep each other sharp on the questions so that they can be interviewing well at other firms and just keep their options open.
No, that's savage, practicing for interviews at your own employer with
Yeah,
your
exactly.
coworkers. I
Exactly.
love that.